a lot of partners that have been at the table since day one. And some of them are steering committee members, others have different roles. But I had the opportunity to talk to President Mason a little while before the pandemic hit. And we had excellent conversations, and we were really beginning to talk about how the university could connect with the planning process. And then we had the pandemic. So we're really a year and a half out, picking that back up. And I'm very excited about UDC being a part of this. It's the district's university, and as an institution of higher learning, it's really good to have that kind of connection, institutionalize what we're doing. So I want to turn it over to Dr. Mason to talk more about his sense of what this partnership will look like. And we're very pleased to have him this morning. So Dr. Mason, can we ask you to say a couple of words?
You can, Mustafa, good morning. Excuse me. I was told I had about 5 minutes, so I'm going to try to put a lot into a condensed presentation. First of all, thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak. Second, some of you may remember that when we put together the university's strategic plan, we went around the district and talked to everybody we could, organizations, ANCs, to understand what they required of their university, of the District of Columbia. And just coincidentally, it was at one of those sessions where not that many people showed up, and Mustafa and I ad-libbed a one-on-one conversation. It actually was one of the best sessions that we streamed. And out of that conversation came more and more conversations. And so that strategic plan ended up being our equity imperative strategic plan. And in that plan, we are transforming the university into the kind of university that can serve the students that we primarily serve, most of whom come straight out of DC public schools. But in that strategic plan, we also have goals that focus specifically on Ward 8 and Ward 7. Now, you know, we have a new facility on Old Congress Heights, and we're going to be enhancing that facility as a hub of activity for us there. Second, we also have a partnership with the Anacostia community based at Anacostia High School. It's called the C-Squared Equity Academy, where we are working right now with the high school, but we hope to work with the middle schools and ultimately the elementary schools to connect the learning pipeline from K-12 directly into UDC. So that, you know, by the time you graduate from high school, you'll have credits toward whatever you want to be after your high school graduation. And then third, you know, everything we do, we try to make sure we understand where the community is and what the community does, because at the end of the day, you know, we are a service and servant institution. And so we've been keeping pretty close tabs on the work that Mustafa and W8CED is doing. And it has a lot of components of the way we want to understand things. And so we've agreed to be one of the 5 main partners with the effort. And what that means, generally speaking, is that Mustafa is going to tell me what he needs of us. We're going to tell him what we need of him and the process and this group. And whenever we can deliver on those requests, we're going to do it. And hope that, you know, we end up with something better than the sum of the parts by working together. We're going to have people on the working committees to make sure we keep tabs of that. Juanita Gray is on the call here. She's been in all of these meetings, and she's going to be our person on the ground there. But I think you can expect to see more and more of UDC at work in your community with you all to try to understand what you need of us and deliver as best we can. Now, I do have one ask, and so while I have you, let me just put it out there, and then I'll answer any questions if you want me to. In the budget this year, the district has actually put extra money in there for us to do our work in Ward 7 and 8, to enhance the facility there, to upgrade our workforce pipelines and our community college access. And so, you know your council people, the budgets had the first reading. The second reading is coming up, I think, on August 10th. And so, you know, if you're in an ANC or you got a number for your council person, give them a call and tell them that, you know, you're looking forward to UDC doing more and more work with you all in Ward 8. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Mustafa, if you want me to answer questions, I will, but
Yeah,
otherwise, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, while we have you, we want to take a full advantage of it. So, Dr. Adams, can you see if anybody has any questions? If anybody does, can you just raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you? We'll take a couple of questions and then we'll move forward in the agenda. Well, while we're waiting for answers, where is the university at with the workforce development component? At one point, it was very prominent, and there's a sense that needed even more because the transition of skill sets that need to happen to make people marketable is really a key for what we want to do in Ward 8. So do you have any sense of what the university will be doing in that end?
I have a great sense of it. The pandemic slowed us down because, you know, most of the workforce programs are face-to-face. And so we had to figure out how to make that transition. We usually have about 2,000 people over the course of a year in that program. It went down to about 500 during the pandemic, but we're coming back. Our main workforce facility is going to be Old Congress Heights on Martin Luther King. We do have some money to upgrade the facility. Right now, we're focused on information technology. We're focused on healthcare. We're focused on information technology, healthcare. Yeah, I'm going to miss some of them. Oh, HVAC is another one, but that comes under technology for us. And so you'll see those programs coming back online. In fact, if you go over there now, you know, people are signing up because I was over there a couple of weeks ago for coding with Apple and for cloud computing workforce certificates at OCH. And you can also go on the website, udc.edu, and see a full array of what we're offering now.
Okay. Dr. Adams, any questions?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay.
You could use the reaction button to raise your hand.
All right.
But I
Well,
don't see any.
we're going to create other spaces for you know, members to engage with UDC. So there'll be other opportunities. But I want to thank you, President Mason, for coming on and wanting to partner with us. And so, in my mind, a major step. And so I appreciate it, and I know the rest of the steering committee and members appreciate it always. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate what you're doing. I'm going to step off of this meeting, but I'll be in future meetings. But Juanita will stay on if you need anything as follow-up. Okay.
All right. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you all very much. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So we want to continue on with the agenda, and we're, as I mentioned, 6 months into the planning process. And I just want to take some time to recognize how significant that is. I mean, you know, for a long time, it was just an idea or concept. With the funding of Bainham Family Foundation, we've actually had the resource now to put together the operation. And the operation is really solid. It's in place. We're getting excellent feedback on it. There's a sense that we are in, you know, the people engaging through the different activities. The website that we put together is very holistic, and I encourage everyone on the call, if you haven't registered, please do so, because that way we capture information and we make sure you get all the correspondence that we're sending out. So if you haven't done it, please do it. The CED training is going along. We've been able to start working out some of the bugs, so we're starting to see people coming. And the CED training is designed to help people understand the planning process and community economic development in general. And so it's been really good to see people come out of it and really, you know, focus on wanting to make sure the communities are moving in this direction. And these are all residents. So to have residents understand, this planning process is really critical for us. The subcommittees, we've had 11 of them meet twice. We have a SWOT analysis from each of them, as well as priorities. This is information that we're going to take forward to begin to analyze and become part of the data mix that we're collecting. We also have a presentation today from DC Health Matters, and it's again a good opportunity. It's a partnership that we're creating, and it's a partnership that's really going to help us around the data collection aspect. But before we go there, I have a couple of residents that I've asked to come and speak and really give some context to how this planning process looks as relates to them as residents. So I'm going to ask Mr. Arrington Dixon to talk a little bit about his experience. He's been very supportive, has a long history in Ward 8, was the founder and long-term supporter of Anacostia Coordinating Council that has done good work over years. But even more, he's been a very successful business person who for years have really tried to create the business in Ward 8, and has a rich history of what works and what doesn't work as relates to small business, which is a cornerstone of community development. Without small business, we can't have a functioning community. So his experience, his knowledge is very critical for us, and I'm fortunate that he has decided to support us and give me counsel. So Mr. Dixon, I want to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. First of all, thank you for including me. I think the mission and goals direction is very needed. If anything, it may be late in coming, but it's whenever we get started, it's good. Let me give you a little background. Maybe it kind of dropped back a bit. Once I left, before I went into public office, I served for 10 years as a tenured professor, associate professor of computer science at the Washington Technical Institute, which is now Federal City College. I actually helped design the entire curriculum and selected all the books and taught every class, all the languages, even operations of the machine. So I have been, and before that, I was a systems engineer for RCA and helped develop software like DOS operating systems and compilers for Fortran, et cetera. So I was pretty deeply immersed in this technology. Once I left my public service on the city council, my goal was to start a business and to transfer some of that experience I had in technology into my business. The major focus being really communications as it related to technology. And the first project that my company took on, which I own 100%, I started in 1980 and on my own dime, and I am the owner of it completely. No, I'm not in front of, nobody's in front or behind me, unfortunately, sometimes. First project was to design the fiber optics network that is now in the metro system. That was our first project that we got and successfully completed. After that work, we did work in refugee resettlement interviewing and surveying over 5,000 refugees in 12 different languages over a 10-year period. And they were lateral studies, so they overlapped. We had to trace a family for 5 years and pick up and keep going with a new cohort of people. That was all done. All this was done out of my home office in Anacostia, which is certified by the city for work like this. We had native speakers, so we had people coming from all over the world into that space, into our community doing this work, primarily Vietnamese and also Russian, Amharic, et cetera, et cetera. After working in that area, I moved into call center work and ran the call center for the National Institute of Health, NIH, for another 10 or more years, 40 people. And we're also a hub zone business. So all of our people, more than a third of our people come from our community. And that's been my goal. We still are trying to do work. I have not done really any work with the DC government. At one point, I joined in with IBM. They actually brought us in because we knew how to do it, to try to eliminate some of the silos that exist, which still exist. When you talk to one agency, you do one thing for them, and then you go back to a new agency, and you have to do the same kind of paperwork all over again as a business to get business going, which should be eliminated one database in, and any minor changes you needed to make for a particular base agency could be used. So I've been doing this kind of work for a long time. Again, it's using a lot of our profits to support the Anacostia Coordinating Council, which I didn't start it, but I picked it up back in 30 more years ago. And my company, ADA Inc., we funded it completely. And we also let them use our office space, and we hired Phil Pinnell, who worked on my company staff. It wasn't a tax write-off. We didn't do any try to benefit recovery on it, which may have been a mistake, but we didn't. We made it part of our business effort, and basically a loaning of resources to ACC, which is now a very strong organization and able to carry on. I resigned as chair, but we still support them. So that's kind of where I am in terms of, and I may be going over, but my difficulties in running a business in our community is, one, we do have to develop more talent, because we always have trouble sometimes finding people with the skill levels to help us. One thing we did do, which we got a lot of folks involved in this. We installed all the seats that are in the Verizon Center down off of 7th Street. My company, ADA Inc., was the company that actually installed those seats. And that took a lot of logistical work, so we did it and did it very well. I guess getting people to do work is complicated, so we need to prepare. And I'm happy to hear that UDC has a satellite in Ward 8, in a river east of the river, which I call Anacostia River East, ARE, Anacostia River East, because we have to have that. I always supported the idea that I think when Mayor Williams suggested once, that put the university on our side of the river, and maybe even use some of that great Anacostia Park area to have a great university to study and build talent. But that's going to be maybe in the future. So I think I have the experience I've had in business, GSA schedules. We are fully certified. We've got people we can get people to do anything we need to do, and we pay well. We are paid our people $15 an hour always since we've been in business, or more, often cases, a lot more. We had once to hire 2 people to develop the training schedule for the metro trains. And we did that scheduling with some talent that we brought in. And so we done a lot of things, and I could kind of go on. I have a lot of struggles and hard difficulties getting resources sometimes, getting funding, getting particularly the attention of the district government and my people in office to recognize that where we are, even though most of them have been in my house or in my office in the basement of our conference table with all kinds of meetings, but they don't seem to get the fact that we're not only helpful with ACC, but ADA Inc. has been the engine, the economic engine historically that has been driving a lot of this process, which is what I intended it to be.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Dixon, for giving us some of the history, which is very important. And again, I'm thankful and grateful for your contribution. I think the work that we're doing now stands on your shoulders. So, I appreciate, having you here, and want to definitely keep you in counsel. So, we're going to rely on you and use your counsel to continue to go forward.
I would like to also add that one of our focuses with what you're doing is the survey effort. We have done that work for 10 years. We ran that survey for the federal government. It was a multi-million-dollar contract, and we did it. We did the entire thing, all the statistical analysis, the cross-tabbing, and the data gathering and entry and questionnaires and the actual call-in and gathering data. So we know how to do that, and we have a concept of how it could be more effectively done, and we're glad to share that, hopefully be a part of the effort, develop that effort.
Okay, you will be. And again, your comments just reflects on the fact that we do have capacity in Ward 8, but it's ongoing need to continue to develop it. And so I think you speak to that very well. So again, thank you, Mr. Dixon, and we'll be talking, okay?
Okay, take care.
Okay. Ms. Wise, if you're on the call, I don't see you in part of the participation list. If you're on the call, can you present yourself?
She's not on. She's not on.
Okay. I didn't think so. All right. Well, Ms. Wise, we'll get her to speak at some other time. She did have a potential conflict she may be aware of, so I guess she wasn't able to come on today. But she has a very excellent story to tell, And at some point, hopefully we can get her to share with the steering committee. So what I want to do is make a transition to the next presentation. And that is a presentation concerning our partnering with DC Health Matters. And Dave Palms is going to, open it up. And I just want to, really thank him for the work he's done. And it's been an effort. We've started this process of looking at a survey instrument for the community about 3 years ago. And we went through all kinds of conversations. But the intent was to do something really different, because my experience has been research and Black people are not a good mix. We always lose. And I've seen some, I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, around Yale University, which is probably the research capital of the world. They do more research and get paid to do it than probably most places. And so I grew up in an environment that was over-researched. We had no real even understanding what was going on and never really benefit from any of the research that was done. So I'm very sensitive to, the over-researching, of Black communities. And so we wanted something that was not in that nature, that if anything would be a tool for the community to begin to really identify what its core issues were. And so that the plan that we were building could reflect that. And at the same time, use the research to encourage the issues around community engagement and wealth building strategies that are really key for us. So I feel good and confident that the players that we have involved respect that and are approaching this research design in that regard. And the outcome, I really believe, is going to be to the benefit of the community. And so I'm turning it over to you, Dave, to present the presenters.
Okay. Thanks so much, Mustafa. And just want to reiterate, we've put some effort into really thinking through the data collection strategy here. And I think the way that we've gone about this has been reflected in, for folks who don't know me, I'm with the DC Primary Care Association. We are, working very closely. We're a member of the DC Health Matters Collaborative. We work very closely across a wide range of healthcare partners, and our primary efforts for so many years has been around health equity. So, this really represents a new type of work for us, but really delivering for the same people that we've been delivering for decades now in terms of the communities that we serve across our community health centers in the city. So it's exciting for us to be part of this, and I will turn it over to Amber Reiki from the DC Health Matters Collaborative to present the slides and introduce her, the co-chairs of the Health Matters Collaborative.
Thank you, David and Mustafa. My name's Amber. I'm with the DC Health Matters Collaborative, and I also am joined by Ms. Devine White and Dr. Pam Carter Nolan, who are from Howard University and Howard University Hospital, who are the chairs of our collaborative and will be introducing us to you. And then we'll talk a little bit about our data collection proposal.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Devine White, and I am at Howard University Hospital. I'm the Director of Public Health Programs there. I'm also the chair of the DC Health Matters Collaborative for 2021. And I would like to introduce you to Dr. Pamela Carter Nolan, who is our co-chair, and she will introduce herself. Do you want to introduce yourself now, Pam?
Sure, no problem. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Pam Carter Nolan. I serve as the director of the Master of Public Health program at Howard University, and I am honored to be part of this collaboration with DC Health Matters, and I look forward to working with you all in the near future.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Amber. So today, what we're going to be sharing with you is who is DC Health Matters, and talking to you about our community health needs assessment. Amber's going to be talking to you about our well-being in the nation survey, how we are looking forward to partnering with the W8CED, and then just looking forward to your discussion. Okay. So this is a picture of all of the entities that are a part of the DC Health Matters Collaborative. We see ourselves as a healthy, thriving capital city, and we want to make sure that there is promise for all residents, regardless of where they live. So as you can see, we are an entity that represents a thriving healthcare provider network in the district. Okay. Now, these are our values. We took a lot of time and paid a lot of attention to voices from the community, voices from our network providers, from our stakeholders, and we came up with these concepts, the concept of dedication, that we're committed to improving community health. Partnership, we want to collaborate. We're open to all voices. Optimism, we believe in meaningful improvements in health outcomes. And accountability, we are reliable. We will be there for you when you need us. We are creative. We use groundbreaking ideas, evidence-based practice, and we make sure that these practices and ideas improve health outcomes. And we are inclusive. We are intentional about health outcomes for all populations, no exceptions. Our focus is on policy and system changes, and we're utilizing the concept of social determinants of health and social needs to move beyond the midstream. We want to take the community from downstream. We want to look at the individual impact of various significant social needs on the community and incorporate an assessment and resources to use as strategies and tactics that will improve upon the community, so that upstream we will have the policies, the laws, the regulations that create community conditions that support health for all people. Our CHNA, or Community Health Needs Assessment, is a requirement of the Affordable Care Act. The IRS requires hospital organizations to conduct the Community Health Needs Assessment every 3 years and to adopt an implementation strategy to meet the community health needs identified. The hospital facility must define the community it serves, assess the health needs of that community, solicit input from persons who represent the broad interests of that community, including public health, and then make the Community Health Needs Assessment report publicly available. So this is a picture of the Community Health Needs Assessment that was conducted. This is the Community Health Improvement Plan, which resulted from the Community Health Needs Assessment that was conducted in 2019. So this is what this is the document that explains what we found during our Community Health Needs Assessment and what we are implementing. And as a result of that, these are the 4 priority needs that have been identified since 2016 that we continue to focus on: mental health, care coordination, health literacy, and place-based care. And if you have any questions about what do these mean, I will be more than happy to discuss this at the end of this presentation. So this is our Community Health Improvement Plan. As the last picture showed, it's a comprehensive, multifaceted strategy to address the community health needs that were prioritized in the Community Health Needs Assessment. So Amber, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Thank you, Daveen. So as Daveen said, we use our assessments, which is the real reason all these organizations came together in the first place, was to complete an assessment. We all even community health centers have a similar requirement from the federal government. So rather than do 8 or 9 of these, we wanted to do them together. And part of the reason that we want to come together is to, you know, reduce redundancy, make it easier on ourselves and the folks we would be assessing, but also because ultimately, if we all join forces, we can have a bigger impact on those big things that really make a difference in people's lives. And so we work really closely on DC policy, including, you know, right now we just came out of DC budget season where we were really active. And we as a group deliberated about what our main priorities would be for every 3 years that we do the assessment. So in the last year and a half, and we've got another year and a half ahead of us, we've been working on these are just some of our main advocacy agenda priorities: expanding school-based mental health to all schools, addressing the DC workforce shortage, particularly around mental health providers and specifically pediatric mental health providers, community health workers, which are, you might know them as peer support workers, community support specialists, titles like that. But right now there's not a structured kind of set of requirements that would allow them to be financed or paid like other health providers. So that's something that we're working on getting clarified in DC. Fair public benefits rules, specifically trying to decrease burdens to prove eligibility for public health insurance. This picture of the report we did a couple of months ago was about reducing police involvement in mental health 911 calls, and we are seeing some progress on that through the DC Council right now, as well as the mayor's pilot that is ongoing right now with 911 and Department of Behavioral Health. We were active in advocating for the establishment of the Office of Racial Equity in the council, and always advocating for better coordination in the health system. Some other things that we support, there's our dchealthmatters.org website has a data portal. So if you're ever interested in looking up, you know, if you're talking about infant mortality or smoking or even income or any indicator really that you could think of, you can find it on our website, dchealthmatters.org. You just put in data and you can find all kinds of statistics, and then looking at like trend lines. Is it getting better or worse? Is it higher or lower than national averages, et cetera. And then we also have a blog where you can find us talking about things that we're doing. And then the other piece that you might have heard about, because we did a big marketing push on this in 2020, was our DC Health Matters Connect tool, which is powered by Aunt Bertha, but it's sponsored by DC Health Matters and used in our organizations. So it's open to everybody, not just health providers. You can put in your zip code and you get a comprehensive listing of all kinds of services related to, you know, these are the categories up at the top, to meet all kinds of needs, free and reduced services cataloged here, and even including like hours, languages that they'd speak, the kind of programs that they have. So we always encourage everybody to visit dchealthmattersconnect.org. I'll also put the link in the chat. So as we've said, we have to conduct this needs assessment. And every year we've done really thorough interviews and focus groups, but we've never done anything like a resident level survey. And we've always kind of wished that we had a little bit more saturation into what the residents are asking the health system to do. So we wanted to keep moving upstream, as Daveen spoke about in that model. You know, we're not just dealing with the ultimate health outcomes, but the issues upstream that will trickle down into people's health outcomes. We wanted it to be more inclusive and have strong partnerships. And so David has been telling us for a long time about this group and about specifically the Wellbeing in the Nation survey that was determined to be a good instrument among this group. And so we are very excited about the possibility of using that. We wanted to sharpen our focus on equity and justice. We're also going to be doing a literature review about past reports or current reports. This month, even a ton have come out about DC. So we know that we're not the only group looking at DC's health or, you know, education or housing. There are a lot of other groups out there. So we want to kind of synthesize those. We want to use rigorous, original, qualitative findings. And ultimately, we want to hear from the community about how the health system can improve well-being. And if at any time anyone asks questions, you can feel free to just interrupt me, but we will have a facilitated discussion at the end of the presentation. So with the opportunity to join in with this group and present or embark on the survey, the Wellbeing in the Nation survey that was agreed on in this group, and I'll show you screenshots later on. Our joint goals are to allow people to truthfully, comfortably share perceptions of life in their community. We wanted to reach a broad representative slice of Ward 8 while prioritizing outreach to marginalized populations that we might not have the opportunity to hear from as frequently. Demonstrate the commitment of Ward 8 CED partners to prioritizing community voice in the development of both CED, your plans, and our plans. Find solutions that solve multiple interacting problems to determine our activities next year and beyond, and create opportunities for policymakers to hear the voices of their constituents. So the Wellbeing in the Nation survey was brought to our attention again by David in this group. And this is the Cantrell's ladder. This is the basis for the survey that I'm about to show you, where respondents will rate themselves in a number of indicators on a scale from 1 to 10. And that will indicate kind of how they're doing on this ladder. And this is not typically the kind of survey that you would see done in public health research or medical research, but there is a lot of evidence and a lot of discussion about the importance of well-being as sort of like an art more than a science, something that's a little bit more subjective, and asking people how they are doing, how they would rate themselves in those categories to determine where we focus. So not just looking at like who ultimately gets a certain kind of cancer, you know, those downstream, but these upstream impacts, maybe first and foremost. So keep this ladder in mind as I show you the survey. And again, you've probably seen this before. So this is kind of a mock-up I did on SurveyMonkey, just so you'd have a visual of what it looks like. So the questions that we're proposing are pretty much taken right from the survey. We didn't do that much monkeying around, but would ask, on which step of the ladder would you say you personally feel you stand at this time? On which do you think you'll stand 5 years from now? Indicate where on the ladder you stand right now in regards to your financial situation, where you are in sense of direction and purpose in life. Oops. How often do you feel lonely? If you were in trouble, do you have relatives or friends you can count on to help you? Rating 1 to 10 people in my community can be trusted. How would you describe your sense of belonging to your local community? During the past 2 weeks, have you felt emotionally upset as a result of how you were treated based on your race? During the past 2 weeks, how often have you experienced positive emotions? And how often negative emotions? And again, these are things you wouldn't necessarily expect in a health survey, but there's increasing research. And if the Surgeon General, the current Surgeon General, has actually done a lot of research specifically on the impact of loneliness and social isolation on health, and negative and positive emotions and stress and the ways that those can impact your emotions. So we actually think these are really meaningful health measures. And then in the past 2 years, have you needed or do you currently need help with the following? And then we've listed a number of kind of social needs, which I'm really interested in, because this will literally tell the health system what kinds of things they should be making investments or paying attention to. If you did seek help in the last 2 years, where would you seek help? And these actually are questions that, and did you face difficulties getting your needs met? These are actually questions integrated from another aspect of the CED project, which is the enterprise survey on small businesses. So we're really trying to be efficient and coordinate everybody together and meet a lot of needs in one survey. And then some demographic data. What is your age and zip code? And of course, this is helpful when we're determining like who are the social groups that maybe feel the most lonely or the most financially struggling. What's your zip code? And again, this will be focused just on Ward 8. Do you identify as race and gender questions here? And then which of these do you identify as? And these are all, again, sort of like population groups, trying to understand the types of people that might have higher or lower levels of thriving, struggling, people who are experiencing homelessness, who smoke cigarettes, who are living with a disability, are an essential worker. And we think that this will also give us a good, clear picture of where to focus resources and attention in the next couple of years in our policy, as well as the investments that all of our hospitals are making in things like community benefit. And I see things happening in the chat, but I'm not really, I can't really do both at the same time. So if there's a relevant chat, David maybe, or Pam, just feel free to shout it out at me.
No, there's just someone complimented us.
Oh, I'll take it. Yeah, happy to have that. So the main thing that I think we need to get out of this discussion is how would our activities complement or coordinate with the CED activities? This is sort of a rough timeline of our activities married on to what the CED activities would be around the same time. What I want you to know is that in our community health needs assessment, there are kind of a couple activities, a couple of streams coming together to fill a reservoir of our data collection. And that includes this WIN survey. It also will include some focus groups that we do, our literature review of other surveys. It's not the only component, but it is a really important component. And then from my understanding, that's also true for the CED activities. The survey is one component, but it's not the only component. And you all are also filling a reservoir. So our thinking was if we both need to do a survey, we would take on the expense and the logistical administrative cost of doing that survey. And hopefully it will, check off one of your boxes of things that you needed to do as well. And that we could both engage in not only the collection efforts and the getting the word out there, getting people to fill out the survey, but also the analysis. And when we look back at what people said, how we make sense of that and what that means and how we should prioritize what we learn. Ultimately, we'll do also a town hall where we kind of share out preliminary findings, and that'll be later early next year. And to speak a little bit to what I understand the CED project to be is asking for kind of those paid data collection opportunities through the ambassadors program. And that one of the components that the ambassadors might work on is canvassing the survey. And then that would ultimately funnel down to all of these analysis and report production goals for the planning process. So our goal, and this was a goal we just went ahead and adopted from you all, is that we would get 1,000 survey responses, which will take some serious hustling. We want to give meaningful reasons for people to participate, especially spotlighting the CED goals about community-led investment and system transformation, as well as give proof points of the impact of our work from our last CHNA and our different collaborative partners and the kind of community benefits that are being distributed from our hospitals into their communities in like real dollars and programs. And then a commitment or a plan for sharing out results and outcomes. And then of course, also financial incentives. So we've talked about an incentive of $25 or more for participating in the survey. The survey we expect to take 10 to 15 minutes, probably more like 10. And we might also try to partner to find ways, like maybe we can get, David had the idea of like Wizards tickets, anybody who fills in the survey on Saturday is entered into a drawing to win Wizards tickets as well. So to just really make sure that people are getting compensated for their time and their input, their data. So just quickly, more nitty gritty on the survey, we have to go through an IRB approval through Howard University to make sure that all of this is conducted ethically and sensitively. We are only including adults, not children, because that gets into a whole other realm of things we have to deal with. And we would be focusing on Ward 8. We're doing this online via SurveyMonkey, so hopefully it's a really accessible way to reach people. We've talked about doing this in English and Spanish. Again, the financial incentives, and then we've got a couple ideas about a visibility strategy. And we've got all of our health centers and hospital locations we can distribute, and a lot of partners will really become important to get the word out. And then we would conclude the survey with a couple of links to resources, as well as an invitation to participate in focus groups that we would also be doing, but that's not a requirement. This is kind of just more of our thoughts about an outreach strategy, but I want to leave some time for questions and discussions. So there's also, as I mentioned, the Ward 8 ambassadors. So these are the on-the-ground data collectors, and it is envisioned that this survey distribution would be one part side by side with the Streetwise River to try to keep that visual of like filling a reservoir with multiple streams of data. I won't speak for this part of it because I'm less the authority on this particular part of it.
Sure. I can speak to that.
Yeah, great.
If we go back to it.
Oh, sure. There we go.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. As you might know, I'm Dr. Portia Hemphill, and I live in Ward 8, also the founder and CEO of Sciences for Social Progress, also a FED, and also the president of the Data Collection Subcommittee. So for the Ward 8 Community Economic Development program that we see ahead of us. So we've been working really hard. Amber, thank you so much. And David and Mustafa, of course. There's been a lot of work into this. I'm gonna speak to you all like family, because you are. We live in the same place. And so this ambassadors program is really important. I wanted to sit here and have us digest this a little bit more so that we understand tangibly like what it is we're trying to do, the magnitude of what we're trying to do, and what we need to do in order to make this happen. And so this ambassadors program is innovative. One thing that Mustafa was really big on, and David as well, was like, how do we incentivize Ward 8 residents? How do we empower Ward 8 residents? So we started from that question, and it led us here. And we know that you all are experts of your community. And we believe that, and we work in that knowledge. And so this Ward 8 Ambassadors Program really helps to push that statement forward. It acknowledges that Ward 8 residents are the experts of Ward 8 residents. It acknowledges the familial spirit that Ward 8 has that's not always on the media. Ward 8, I'm from Chicago, y'all. Ward 8 is very friendly. Ward 8 is very, people know each other's families. People know each other, or know someone who knows you. It's very close knit. That is an asset. And it's not an asset that we always push forward. But this ambassadors program pushes that strength forward. It acknowledges that the ambassadors will be able to be empowered. Empowered with what? Empowered with our support, empowered with our money, earning as much as $2,000 between September and December in order to get these 1,000 surveys collected. 1,000 surveys sounds like a lot, But I looked on the DC Health Matters website that Amber so graciously pointed out to us, and there are 80,517 residents in Ward 8. We're getting 1,000 of that 80,000. And so that helps to contextualize this, and that makes it matter so much why those 1,000 responses need to be representative of Ward 8. We wouldn't want to have them all be seniors because Ward 8 isn't all seniors. We don't want them to be all straight people because Ward 8 isn't all straight. We want them to be representative of the community. And so we know that ambassadors, we know that Ward 8 people know Ward 8 best. And so we want 20 or around 20 ambassadors who come saying, hey, I am ready to help get to this 1,000, and I want to be number one, paid. I want to be number two, obtaining a desired skill set. Data collection is something I get paid handsomely to do. And that is a skill. In fact, now I've been asking as a Ward 8 resident, even putting on a Facebook Ward 8 website, group on Facebook, like, hey, I am trying to recommend a Ward 8 person for a really good data collection job. This is real life, y'all. This is actually happening right now. If you know somebody, you can just send me a tag and let me know. And for a really good job opportunity. And a lot of folks have shared it, but I haven't gotten any responses yet. Data collection is just not something that we do that well. And so this program will help us the next time in 3 years when I'm able to ask this question, we can have some ambassadors that may say, hey, I know how to do that. It's a really nice skill set to have, to know how to administer a survey, to know how to be mindful of not being too biased, to be mindful of the sensitivities of the population you're talking about. That is a very well-paid asset, and we want 20 or more Ward 8 residents who have that asset, so you can get paid handsomely. And the third thing is, after money, after desired skill set, is helping the community to reach its goals. I just went past the Popeyes on MLK and Malcolm X yesterday before I went to a physical therapy appointment. When I came back, the building next to Popeyes was demolished. I'm not sure if any of you have seen that, but I saw that. I'm saying that to say that our community is changing right in front of our eyes, literally. And so the more we're able to engage ourselves to show who we are and what we are capable of, using such instruments as this survey, is the way we're able to stay here, and the way we're able to stay grounded, the way we're able to push off any miscalculations of who we are and what we're about. And so I wanted to take a little time. I might have taken a little bit more time than anticipated, but I really wanted to drive that home. Please, you'll be hearing from us. We're going to be looking to your organizations, and we really will. We'll probably be getting an email from us individually to your name individually, asking you about to nominate 1 or 2 ambassadors by August 31st, because we're very serious about it for the reasons I just outlined. So you'll see these target dates to the bottom right-hand portion of this slide. The ambassadors will be announced by September 10th. We'll ask for the names by August 31st from you all. You'll give us some names. We'll announce them by September 10th. The training will begin by September 20th. The training will cultivate that desired skill set that I was just talking about as very much needed. Then after that, by September 30th, we'll use those ambassadors who have now have been tooled up with the skill set to help us figure out how to best reach these vulnerable groups. Which vulnerable groups we'll talk about in the next slide, but give me just a second. And also, so by September 30th, we'll cultivate the design to be sure we're reaching the folks who need to be reached, so we can have these 1,000 responses be representative of the Ward 8 that we know. And the fourth element is the actual data collection, the actual outreach. That'll happen in October and November. After that, we'll debrief, we'll plan the next steps. What will the ambassadors be doing? They will be helping. They may have a tablet. They'll be helping residents who may not be as digitally savvy. So you'll have the tablet. You'll be able to make sure that internet access is not a problem in getting an accurate, less biased response pool. Also be working with the Ward 8 CED Streetwise platform for digital asset mapping. You might not know what that means now. That's perfectly fine. The ambassadors will learn about that during the training. And so it won't be a hard gig. It'll be a worthy gig, and it'll be one that gives you skill set and money. We really would want you to walk away knowing that we will need your help for those 1 or 2 people that will be nominated by you for the ambassadors program. Next slide, please. I spoke a bit about those vulnerable groups, and this is a rundown of those vulnerable groups that comprise Ward 8 that we're just talking about. You'll see several here. I think there's about 8 or 9. Unhoused people staying in shelters. Some of your organizations know very well. We have some potential outreach partners on this slide. It shows the highly vulnerable group, the why we want to survey that group, and the potential outreach partners that would be best at surveying that group. And we acknowledge we are not here about ego. We know that you may be looking at that 3rd column and saying, hey, my organization does that, but our name isn't on here. You're right. We may not know. That's why we're gonna be asking for your help. No ego. So what we will be needing your help for, and please send us an email letting us know if your organization is an expert in these groups. There's unhoused people staying in shelters, people living in correctional or detentional facilities, people who are LGBTQA, people who may feel unsafe at home, those with disabilities, those who use illicit drugs other than marijuana, people with anxiety, depression, or other mental health diagnoses, including trauma or PTSD, those who use alcohol, and people who are returning from living in a correctional or detention facility. And those are the groups that we know are particularly hard to reach for some obvious reasons. And we know that you are experts in knowing those groups in Ward 8. And in my final appeal, I say, in advance, thank you for your help in this endeavor.
Thank you, Dr. Hemphill. And let me add, because I think this is very important. Dr. Hemphill comes from Ward 8 and reflects a lot of the capacity that exists in Ward 8, but very few people know about and appreciate it. There's many people I've talked to who have significant expertise. I mean, Mr. Dixon talked earlier about his. Most people look at a place like Ward 8 and really don't appreciate that in spite of how it's projected, that there are excellent people here and that have done good things and continue to do good things. And all we're looking for with the planning process is to heighten that awareness. And I also want to recognize Mr. Calvin Smith on the call. He's been chairing the Ward 8 Health Council since over 10 years and has been very, very committed to Ward 8's health. And we see him as a very important partner in the whole health discussion. And we're looking to link what we're doing very closely with the Ward 8 Health Council that has been doing a good job really working with the community around this effort. So we appreciate your effort, Calvin, and we're looking forward to working with you more. I'll turn it back to you, Dave, and to close it out, to see if we have any questions. We're over our time. We usually try to keep it for an hour, but because this is such an important discussion, anybody who can stay on, past the hour, please do. If you have a leave, by all means leave. And we're looking to have a meeting in August. Whether it's going to be a full meeting or just a meeting to have the steering committee members participate, we'll be sending that correspondence out.
Mustafa?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt your flow. I've been trying to listen to the entire thing. I think it's very, very, I have a lot of questions and a lot of comments. I want to make my major focus at, we've been in the business for 30 years and done this. And I just feel like, how could we not have been being a part of this survey effort? And it troubles me, and because I think we could have helped a great deal and can still, I hope, help. I'm particularly interested in the fact that a lot of discussions around health. I think that we also need to find out what are the vital signs for economic growth and economics, and what things are in our community that affect that, and that I don't need to be addressed. Also, I wanted to mention to Dr. Hemphill that I think what she's doing is excellent. Her layout is actually right on. I'm very intrigued in how much I could maybe be helpful with her and talk to her and work with her. I'm particularly concerned that there's got to be a category of folks who are okay. We got a lot of people who hopefully don't have any or very few of those conditions, but who are solid citizens. Part of that concern and tied to that is that 75% or over 70% of our community are renters, which means question one, do you feel connected and committed to the community you're in, or do you feel transient? And that's very important in terms of what they would expect out of their life in this community. And I have other questions too, but I'm gonna let it go for now, and just hope I can maybe just be helpful, because we've done a multilingual, we've done it for 5,000 people, we've done all this kind of stuff, and we've done the statistical stuff. Our reports were generated to the U.S. Congress, and we did the entire package, including the booklets that went to them for 10 years.
Well, I'd like to speak in response to that. I think you are spot on. You are absolutely focused in the right direction, and so are we. We recognize through DC Health Matters that the social determinants of health, housing, and housing security, housing stability is extremely important. And I definitely think that we should make sure, Amber, that we make adjustments in our survey to be more specific with that question.
Yeah, I would also add that, historically, we all know that the health of your workers has always been important. Even in days of people being enslaved, they made sure they had enough food so they were healthy enough to work. But we want to be able to not just be healthy enough to live and work, but healthy enough to participate in the economics of the process, which is another dynamic. And that may be a harsh comparison, but that's one of my concerns.
Thank you so much, AD. I would love to speak with you at a time we can agree upon to discuss your work in this space. I want to clarify that we will be surveying Ward A residents who are okay by most dimensions. But
Yeah.
it's just that those groups that were outlined were those that are highly vulnerable. And so
Right.
that particular attention because they're hard to reach historically.
Yeah, and it still seems to be a leaning on health, and I think that's critical. Like I said, strong, healthy workers are good, but we also need to see how can we make them get into the economic market. Like me, I've been here 30 years in business, and this whole process went forward, and people knew I do surveys. They've employed with me. They work here, but I never got even brought into the process. We had to go outside, and I think we need outside involvement and help talent, but inclusion. I mean, I'm a local, born and raised, businesses in Anacostia. All my economics are in Anacostia, east of the river. I call it Anacostia River East. But yet this thing is, boom, gone. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dixon. And this is just the beginning stages. I keep iterating that we're in the planning process. By no means do we have anything solid. We're looking to get information to do that. And we have been very conscious from day one, linking healthcare and economic development. So what we're seeing in our discussion today is an outcome of that. Our commitment has always been to link those two together because we realize one cannot exist without the other. And if anything, we will continue to build on that. So again, let me turn it back over to Dave. Is there any closing remarks? Do people have more time to stay behind and talk? Do you want to continue the discussion, or do we want to break it off here and be able to have further discussions and get back to the steering committee in the future?
I'm certainly happy to stay on if anybody else wants to. I don't have anything else to share other than just reiterating we'll be reaching out to many of you, and we want you to reach out to us about folks who can participate in the process. Any feedback you have, we'll certainly be speaking with you, Mr. Dixon, about how we can partner with your company. And I think, there's other ways that we want to work with a variety of you here, whether you can help us reach a particular population or just want to introduce your neighbors to the process. I think we can certainly take a lot of feedback and make sure that everyone here feels empowered to contribute and speak their piece to the W8CED data collection process. So please get in touch if you have thoughts, and we will be available after the call and anytime.
And just one last thing before I have to hop off. Just wanted to make sure that you all left with the ask. So as you heard me say before, please look out for an email from us within the next 2 weeks asking for your nominations for ambassadors 1 or 2. And we need those by August 31st. And also please share this information about the survey that you heard here. You'll be getting a 1-pager soon that David will send out if he hasn't already. And we would love for you to, so that it'll jog your memory. We don't expect you to remember all of this. So you'll be able to share it with your staff. So please think about nominations, share it with your staff. And what was the third thing, David, that we had that we wanted?
If there's anybody missing from the table, if there's any population that we're missing or people that you know should be with us here, speaking about this, please let us know. We don't want to move forward without anybody being nominated to be involved.
Thank you.
Also, can you share the requirements that you're looking for, the minimum basic requirements?
We will share like
When
a
you put
write-up
it in the
and
information.
like sort of
Okay.
a job description and details of what will be expected of people to participate.
Yes.
All right. Well, again, people can stay behind to talk, and we'll close it out after I guess we're finished. So anyone who wants to stay, by all means, stay. Anyone who has to do something different, by all means, leave and have a good weekend.
Yeah, I'd like to also get contact information from him, Phil, and from David, please, so I can maybe reach back to them also. Maybe they can share that with me some way, because you can give it to them. And
I have your email.
And lastly, I would suggest that the Asian community is very critical in terms of the economic issues in our community, because they've had some success with small stores and shops, and they may not be residents, but they may give us some views as to how they do it. And we know one way they do it is they stick together and resources, combine their resources, but they give us a real different perspective on that, I think.
And Mustafa, I just want to make sure people understand there's a full data and planning committee that works exclusively on this. And so the steering committee is just the avenue to sort of bring the information to the entire group. But the team that presented today is working full time on this project in particular. So I think that's the place to make sure that we get more people involved and at the table. So thank you. It was great presentation, great information. And it's very exciting about both the empowerment of residents and the information that will drive, the investment in the community.
All right. Well, thank you, Tamara. That's it. She closed it out. So thanks, Tamara.
All right.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Thanks. Bye.
you. Thank you for
Thank you.
allowing us to be here.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks,
Bye.
Mustafa.
Yep. Take care, everybody.